In finding, Collette, in finding a mate, significant other, spouse, how important was it for you, for your significant other, to support your career?
Well, for me, it was extremely important, and that may not be the case for everyone. I think that every, relationship is, I call it its own culture. What works for you is what works for you. Don't let nobody judge you. But for me, it was extremely important to find a partner that supported my career, because my vision of partnership, my vision of relationship was partnership and building together and building forward. And I kind of had to put that together based on people that I knew and just admired from afar, because that wasn't modeled for me in my home. But I decided that, whatever it is that I wanted to pursue in life, that whatever partner I had, that we needed to be able to build together and have a common goal and a common vision, because there's so many things in the world that pull you apart from, whether it be your partner, your family, the people that are important to you. And I just felt like it made sense to be able to have what it is that you're pursuing be one of the things that pulls you together. So, what I find, I got married in, oh Lord, I'm glad he's not here, in August of 2015. So I've been married a little bit over a year, and it's a constant journey of discovery. I'm a newbie, but one of the things that made me decide that he was a person that I could partner with was that he didn't feel the need to, he's not intimidated by my life.
Yeah.
He's not a person who feels a need to compete with me. And that was something that I had experienced time and time again in my dating life. Was that, a lot of times as women, we bring so much light, so much talent, so much curiosity, so much ambition, so much strength, so much resiliency, that for some men it's like, whoa, where's my light? But the point of light is that having multiple lights only makes the room brighter. Light does not dim light. So when I stumbled across my husband Brian and realized that he was someone who knew what his light was and was not intimidated or bothered at all by mine. In fact, he goes really hard in supporting what I'm doing and building me up. I said, you got to come with me. And so that, that partnership was really, really key for me to find.
I see that's true. I see a lot of posts on social media from her husband, from Brian, always supporting Collette. So I thought that was a really appropriate question for you. Did anyone have anyone? I'm feeling something. I thought I felt something. But I just think that it is important that whatever career or whatever we have going on, that your mate, supports you in whatever way that may be. They may not necessarily understand it, what it is, but support looks different in a lot of ways. It just doesn't mean saying rah, rah, rah for you. It can mean I'm going to help you with the event, I'm going to, social media, whatever it may be. So I think that's a really good point. And I think that's also in friendship, any relationship, because even with friends, that's a relationship. So it's important that our sisters support us too in our careers or whatever it may be. They may not get it, they may not understand it, but as a sister, as our friend, they will support us in that. So I think any relationship. So we'll keep moving right along to Miss Angie. Angie, my sister. I always call Angie my sister from another mister. Always. But Angie is the oldest of 9, right?
Yes.
9?
Yes.
And we talk all the time, well, most times, and I kind of know her story a little bit. So I wanted her to talk about how did being the oldest mold you into the life, not the oldest like that, as the oldest sibling. Mold you into the business life, because I would think that most anybody has a lot of siblings in here, they understand how the oldest kind of has to watch over the younger ones. They may have to cook the meal, they may have to do different things that the younger sibling did not have to do. So I think it's really important just to understand, because you've got a lot of time, oftentimes you get a chance to see how parents, not that it's different, but it's sometimes the first, they're just learning how to be a parent. So with the third or fourth, it may be different. So I just wanted you to speak on that.
Sure, thank you, Audrey, and thank you everyone for joining us. Everyone looks beautiful today. Thank you, panel. Great job. So, growing up a native from Arizona, my parents were migrant workers, and one of the things that I learned is that when you're the oldest, obviously you don't get any love. Don't get any love, and basically you kind of help raise your siblings, and the interesting part is that you even date younger men for some reason. It's so interesting. I don't know how that happened, but it's crazy. Well, because a counselor had mentioned that you're the oldest, so you're probably going to date younger men. I don't know. But anyway, so what I learned is that I have a lot of good work ethics. I learned from my father. My mother was a little bit laid back. She was always tired, raising kids. And my father was my inspiration. So what he taught me was that even though we work in the fields, that you have to get to know people. You have to basically network, even though I didn't know what that meant, and be very loyal to family and friends. And one thing that I did learn is that he mentioned the fact that you always talk to everybody. It's who cares if it's a homeless person or the president? And I learned to do that. And so one of the strengths that I have is actually knowing a lot of people. I can pick up the phone, and that's because I talk to everybody, and I know what it's like to grow up poor. I know what it's like to walk in a nice neighborhood, and people look at you like, oh, are you here to babysit or clean house? I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go get my education. So with me, it was more like going back and look at my life, what it was about, and I realized that in my culture, education was not important, and my family was not that important, and I wanted to break that cycle. Now, it doesn't matter what age you are, you can start anytime. I went to school for 10 years, a class every 8 weeks. I raised 4 children by myself, and I knew that I had to do it on my own. Sometimes we have to be our own CEO ourselves. And one of the things is that when we talk about mentoring, if you can't find a mentor, my gosh, go to the library, get a self-improvement book. If you, but it's true, but I grew up next to a church, so I couldn't get away with a lot. So we were raised Catholic, and one of the things that I learned is that it was very important to keep my faith, because that's the only thing that was moving me forward. I don't know if I answered your question, but I went on and on.
And you're probably a role model. If I throw the ball at you and you have that, you're probably a role model for your siblings, I would imagine.
Yes.
Absolutely. Anybody else that's the oldest sibling have anything to say? No? I was the youngest, so I wasn't the oldest. And it is a dynamic with the oldest, and it's a dynamic with the youngest. So it is a difference. So I'll just kind of piggyback on that really quickly, and then I'm gonna move on to the next question. As the youngest, my mom here, she's looking like, what's she getting ready to say? As the youngest, it seems like my siblings thought that I just had the best of everything. That I just had, my one brother I remember, oh, you don't know what living life was like in the projects. You moved to the big house. You was born right into the big house. I'm like, what does that mean? I can't help when I was born, whatever. But it is a difference. They think I got more, or I didn't do half the things some of my sisters and brothers did, so I didn't have to be on punishment like that. So that was the difference. I didn't do a lot of things they did, but it is a dynamic being the oldest, a dynamic being the youngest. And I used to think sometimes that my siblings, my female siblings, were jealous because I was the youngest. Because there's a gap. What's that? What'd she say? There's a gap with my sister. She's 6 years, and then it goes on up from there. And I think one time I remember her saying something like, I think she was the baby for a while. So then after 6 years I came, she wasn't the baby anymore, so it may have changed. But there is a dynamic with the youngest and the oldest. I want to go back to some a sisterhood question posed to Dr. Ann. Do you believe as women we create barriers for ourselves as it relates to sisterhood? Barriers.
I pose that question so you can think about it to yourself as I share what I believe. You know, I was just thinking about this earlier, but I want to say, first of all, you have a great panel here in terms of the diversity.
Yes.
I think this is awesome. Because oftentimes we just get it from one end and not the other. This is a great mix. I'm probably the oldest one at the table, but you know, and I migrated here in 1982 from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and that was a geographical shock. It was an education. And just so that you know, I lived here for 1 year in Phoenix, Arizona, and I didn't have any black friends. I didn't know any black women, and I certainly didn't know any black men. But for 1 year, and I hung out with it was 7 of us, I hung out with 6 girlfriends. And I didn't even think about the fact that it was 5 white, 1 Hispanic, and myself. We had a good time every day. I didn't care if I didn't have a black friend. Women were my friends. I was new here in Arizona. I didn't know anything about this culture, even though I came from a city where there are 1 million black people. Philadelphia. Hashtag the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. And that's what I would like for you all through the barriers, is to take the J out of your vocabulary and substitute it for an A and a C. J for jealousy. And get it out. You know, A for appreciate and C for celebrate. The barriers that we have for ourselves is that we don't respect one another. There was a situation where a woman came to me and she asked for help and how she could apply for a job. And I gave her this, you know, some recommendations, and she shared that information with a friend of hers, a coworker at her job. And you gotta be careful what you say to one another. If you're going for a job, if you enter college, the master's program, a PhD program, don't tell anybody about it until you finish. The girlfriend found out the job, she applied for the job and got the job. So the barriers that we place on ourselves, you know, keep us, if it benefits one person, it's gonna benefit everybody. And if you do things to tear each other down, because it's a saying that a good friend of mine years ago used to say, Dr. Reverend Brooks, if they come after me at 2 o'clock, they're gonna come after you at 3. Okay? We can't talk to each other at the water fountain at the workplace. We walk past each other, or we sling our hair, and we don't want the employers to know that we know each other. These are barriers, okay? I worked at the Department of Education for 12 years, 11 and a half to be exact, as the Deputy Associate Superintendent. The only black woman that lasted in that political job for 11 and a half years. I was the only black woman that had a doctorate degree. And I was the only black woman at that level who was paid $20,000, $30,000 less than white women and other women that walked in the door with less credentials. And I was the black woman with the credentials, had the most experience and background, and yet my white counterparts were walking around telling me, don't call her Dr. Hart, why don't I dress down and wear jeans on Friday? So the way we support each other is that don't hide in your cubicles. Don't hide outside your cubicles, but embrace one another and stop hating on each other. You know, I had a secretary that I brought in off the streets. She hadn't been employed for 5 years. I knew she didn't have the skill set to do the job, but I wanted this woman to be employed. That's what it was about for me. We have to, there's a picture that shows the black hand reaching. You don't know if they're grabbing or releasing. You know, we have to pull each other out and not be afraid that someone knows more than you, especially women. We become so territorial, okay? There's no real estate on intelligence. Everybody has it, okay? It might not be at the sphere or the level or tier that you think it should be, but we all have it. And we need to embrace it. And we need to embrace the young women at the bottom who are trying to get there. But we have to explain how it works when you get there. When you help somebody, you don't turn your back. Okay? I can't help you and your granddaughter and your niece and your cousin if you're not going to get it right. And I think the barriers that are that, number one, we're talking to most of the choir in here. We need to grab these people out in the community, wherever they live, and come pay for their $25 to come to Real Women Revealed. And each one of us sit with two of these young women at our sides. The girls that are out there in the community, they want to wear the green spandex pants with the burgundy hair and the big gigantic earrings with their names on it, but they cannot spell their name backwards. Who's going to help them? Obviously, there's nothing going on at home, and that role model isn't there, and we just shake our head and talk about them when we see them walking across the street or at the supermarket or at the club. All these women that hang out at Michael's at night trying to grab everybody's husband and spouse and everybody's fiance, okay? Because my husband parties up in here too. And when I show up, they're like shocked. He has a wife? Yes, he does. Okay? I'm not intimidating all that, but I like to take all these little young girls who are aspiring to get into these old geezers' pockets, because that's all it is. We need to educate. I mean, that's where it starts. I mean, we talk about all the professional stuff, but the only way that you're going to get it thick and thin through their head, come up here in the club and sit them in the car and, you know, get them a change of clothes and tell them to start all over. Because you're not going to make it into the world if you don't respect yourself. People treat you three ways: how you look, how you dress, how you carry yourself. And it doesn't matter if you have blue, purple, or pink hair. It's not about that. It's how you present yourself. But number one, ladies, the barriers we have is, first of all, how is anybody going to get in the door and help anybody if we can't say hello? This woman over here, Chanel Powe, on the board at the Ball School District. How many black women you know on the board anywhere? Okay? Ericka Nicholes is well, that's great in that district. But how big is the state? Okay?
We need way more.
Okay, and let me just tell you something. In this state, we have one African American superintendent. Okay, superintendents hire who? Principals. Principals hire who? Teachers. Okay? That's where we need to get integrated in. Because if these young women are going to school, starting in kindergarten, by the time they get to third grade, who taught them how to put their hands on their hips and sling their hair? Okay? As opposed to teaching them financial and educational and reading literacy. So they can be able to present themselves like this young woman did who has her Toys for Joy program. And you're very articulate. I don't know how old you are, but you're very articulate. But the barriers are a J. The J. Take the J out of your life and substitute it with the appreciate and celebrate.
And that's really good, Ann, because I've said oftentimes too, sometimes you don't know. If you never had the role model, you don't know. If you don't know what sisterhood is, if you don't know what supporting is, you don't know. So someone has to teach someone. So I want to give it up. She came flying in on another flight. Were you in Mississippi?
Yes.
Mississippi, my mom's hometown and family. So thank you, Adina, for finally joining us. She was like, I'm coming off. That's love right there. Because she could have just said, you know what, I'm running, I just got in. I'm going to go home. I'll call her and tell her, you know what, I couldn't make it. And so I appreciate you for keeping a commitment to come and celebrate with us. That's real. That's really real. You know, that's real. So we'll just pose the question right on to you since you It's kind of like a two-part question because you wrote the anthem. What was that? What was it? 95. Freak in the Morning. We weren't here. Women was not hearing songs like that when she came on the radio. Well, we heard that on the airwaves, on the radio with that. So it was like an anthem. We was like, what? We can do that? We can say that? So I appreciate you for just giving us that anthem for us. And we'll kind of come back to that. But what I wanted to ask you is there a sisterhood in the music industry? Because at that time, I'm not sure how many women were thriving or how it was going, but is there really a sisterhood in the music industry? If it's a handful of you guys, are you guys like, come on, I got you, come on, I got you?
What's interesting about that, I think there is a sisterhood there, but I think it's a cliquish sisterhood. because you know who you know when you're around who you're around, and that's who you tend to gravitate to. I personally, I have, befriended quite a few sisters in the industry. However, at the same time, for me, I like to keep my friends that I've already had, because I know they know me, they know the ins and outs of me. It's very interesting because, like she said, here, when we moved to Arizona, and even when I moved back to Arizona, I noticed that we don't really speak to each other, just period. Kings and or queens, we don't speak, we don't smile and acknowledge each other. So when it's in the industry, for me, and I was raised, my mother raised 4 girls, my dad had 7. So I know nothing but sisterhood. So it's very comfortable and familiar to me when I see, queens and heavily melanated women, and it's just like, or just any woman, period, to just speak and gravitate to them, because those are my roots. So for me, I didn't see anything other than because I am that. That's important to me, to be the example that I want to see and to be the person that, I want to gravitate to.
I think I wanted to kind of, because you got to catch up with the questions, so we're gonna go right into you again. With that song, I need a break in the moment. That was a song. How was it? Which song? Oh, Freak Like Me. That was her. That was it right here. When that song came out, was it very receptive for women? More so the industry. I believe I have a feel for what your fans and what your audience, what we kind of felt about it. But in the music industry, was it receptive, a positive reception from your peers?
It's so interesting because I don't ever pay attention more often than not to what people think about me and what I do, because at the end of the day, what you think about me is none of my business. So whether they liked it or not, literally it would go over my head unless it was, personally addressed, which at the end of the day, I still would look at people sideways, like, why do you care? Because I am who I am, I'm gonna continue to be who I am. I'm still going to grow and whatnot, but at that moment, it was like, this is who I am. You don't like it, I don't care. So a lot of times I didn't even recognize it, though I will say there was a particular female artist that she's a seasoned woman. And I looked up to her and I loved her music, and I saw her in the airport one day. And I was like, oh my God, oh shit. And I introduced myself and I told her the song that I sang, and she was just like, So, are you gonna be doing that your whole entire career? And she looked at me, I was like, I'm in the moment right now. I don't know. I'm 21, I'm wilding out. I don't even know how to answer that question. She's like a jazz singer, she's been in the game for a long time. And just for her to say that to me, I was just like my face. I was like, oh my God, how do you, but my grandmother on my dad's side she was one too, Christian, Southern Baptist Christian woman, and I remember her saying to me, a good Christian woman shouldn't be doing things like that. She shouldn't be singing stuff like that. I was like, pause. Hold up. I said, thou shalt not judge. You're not supposed to be doing that. And at the end of the day, how do you know that what I do is not a platform for something bigger? I recognize that, the divine uses all of us. How it chooses to use all of us. We all have a different path, we all have a different story, we all have a different journey. And so for me, when people did come at me sideways, it really literally went over my head or in one ear and out the other. So I don't even recall the nonsense, honestly.
What do you feel has or what? That's what I'm getting you before you gotta go. What do you feel has or was the biggest challenge for you, just as a woman? Not, I know you've had challenges, but specifically targeted because you're a woman in the political realm.
For me?
Yeah.
Personally?
Yeah.
Or
For you.
yeah, personally political. Okay. So I guess the biggest challenge is trusting myself
in my decisions. And that's probably one of many of us can relate to this, where we're making a decision and we worry about that decision, and then we make it, and then we doubt ourselves in making it. So I have evolved to the point where I have done all my research, and when I make the decision, I'm happy with it and just keep moving forward, and have no regrets on it. So I would say personally, in the political world, really, that's probably one of the biggest things, because I make huge decisions that impact many people's lives. And I don't take it very lightly, and I debate back and forth with my colleagues over it in a very private manner, and I ask certain questions, and sometimes staff does not, staff expects you to believe what they're telling you, and I expect to believe what I do when I do my research and I ask questions back. So I expect staff to understand my questions and know the answer, and when they don't know the answer, that's when I start to doubt what the decision is. And so in that type of thinking or thought process, that's where I start to say, am I on the right path, or did I go off the path? And then I usually go back and say, no, I'm on the right path, because I need to ask those questions in order to make a sound, educated decision. So I think I answered it.
Want to piggyback on that question as it relates to you making your field, or Chanel? Ericka, you know, in the political sense where
I just was listening when Laura came in and she was talking about how the system and the structure of government just wants you to rely on staff or administration to do what's right, but you're going to these conferences and having these nationwide conversations about real issues that are directly impacting the communities, and they don't want you to speak up on that. So not only is it a fight to get in once you're running for office, but you better believe you got an uphill battle when you are in office. Do not look at the school board as if, well, they don't get paid. No, that's in Arizona, honey. It's other school boards across the country that actually get paid because they have state legislatures that fund them in the budget and that do believe in them. So it's a lot of resiliency. It's so many levels to leadership. I don't even understand what it's like, what you deal with. But one thing that I did learn, and I do know that's true, is that you have to stand true to your values. And a lot of times we're working with folks that are integrated, with integrated bodies, and we have to work 3 to 4 times as hard. We have to bring receipts, evidence, tell them doctors that we talk to. Sometimes we gotta bring in a white male professor from ASU to tell your board the same thing that you've been screaming for the past 3 months. Wow. So you have to really have a good support system that helps and understands that, number one. Number 2, you have to be resilient, and you always have to try to look to find your allies. Those are the people who are going to help you succeed, because guess what? One thing I learned is you most definitely cannot do it by yourself.
by yourself and try to kind of wanted to piggyback and let Ericka piggyback on that a little bit. And Laura Pastor mentioned before, and I think maybe it was heard wrong. She did not say we will lose the first time. She said we may lose. It's okay if we did not win the race for the first time. So I want to talk to Ericka, who gave a great fight for the Roseville School District. But that doesn't stop you from still advocating.
So I'll stand up. And Audrey knows I hate to speak. Told me I didn't have to speak. But I want to touch back on what you said, Councilwoman Pastor, is that I did lose my race. And I knew that it was a high probability that I would, but I put my best foot forward because I wasn't a known name. I was actually just a parent that jumped in the race. But I had so much support and so many women. Dr. Hart came out and stood with me, who lives in my district. My sister came and made phone calls, and got in touch with the weirdest Trump supporters.
Oh, yeah.
But still talk to them on my behalf, telling them that I was a parent, and it takes the support of women. And everybody told me what I needed to expect on the Roosevelt School Board, but I had to do my own research and had to really be knowledgeable as why I was coming to the board in the first place. And I was coming there as a parent and as a social worker in the district, and what they were saying to me didn't match what I was seeing. And so when I started to ask the tough questions and they couldn't tell me the exact answer, I knew that I was also on the right track. And today I'm still fighting at every single board meeting for the Roosevelt School District because the test scores don't match what they're saying. So.
And oftentimes, not that it was a mistake or necessarily a setback, but oftentimes we become greater because of those mistakes or setbacks, so that really pushes us for our best.
Can I add one?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I just want to say really quickly that,
We have a lot of opportunity for women here, and I wish that we would step up to the plate. And if anybody ever comes to you and says, you should run for this and run for that, I want you to be prepared to have this response. Give me a clipboard and petitions, because that's what you need. And if you want somebody to run that you know that can represent your district or your county or your municipality, make sure that you put some money behind it. Because these women and men cannot do it without money. You know, you can slide off a couple $100 from that Gucci bag and that Louis Vuitton.
Yes.
And just say, get $5 to this campaign, because Ericka did a fabulous job. You really did, but she needs money because these posters and signs that you put up. But we have to galvanize. We need to galvanize ladies and take this conversation back out to people that you know have the skill set. Because you know, one thing about Arizona is it's a different kind of population here amongst us. Very different. Instead of recognizing a platform for the power which it speaks once you've accomplished your political or educational or professional objective, that's one thing. But we have to stop looking to be rewarded when we walk into a luncheon or a chicken dinner to be recognized. Because I'm not going to recognize you if you're not doing the work.
That's right.
And that's first and foremost. Just know that everybody has to be recognized. Like, okay, well, you don't recognize me for what have you done for
That's
anybody
okay.
lately?
What have you done?
Time, and then I'm gonna come back with some questions. I know Laura has to leave too, but I want to go and recognize. It kind of just flowed right into that. I would just really like to go in this part of the program and recognize our honorees, because just with the dialogue and everything everyone's saying, it just fell to my spirit to say, you know what, this is a perfect time to recognize our honorees. And with Real Women Revealed, it's in 3 areas. Sisterhood, community, because that's very important to me. And I'm going to digress a little bit. When I was first really putting Real Women Revealed together, you know, you kind of out there, let me do this, and go over here, and I'm going to do this. And you kind of everywhere. And I kind of had to sit back and say, what is it that I really love? What lane am I really going to be in? And community, women and community is my lane. And that's where I want to be in and continue to work in that. So I just wanted to say that, to say, you know, entrepreneurship is hard work, and sometimes we think we have to just be everywhere, but there is a lane for us. You'll get recognized in that lane. And so again, I do recognize with community, sisterhood, and just the celebration of women together. As I stated before, if you wasn't here, Amber won last year for our celebration of women, was honored, last year. So first, I would like to recognize our Sisterhood Achievement Award to Suzanne Nelson. So come on up, Suzanne. You know you gotta come up. Suzanne and I met Suzanne because her husband and Xavier, my husband, were friends. So we met about at least 10 and a half years or so ago. Dominique wants you to know. We met about 10.5 years ago through our spouses, and we've been friends ever since. We've been going to Sedona, we got fight parties. She supports House of Miracles. We were doing something for the women. She brought Christmas bags over. We don't talk every day, not every month, but we know that we're sisters, and I appreciate you for always supporting. I may have not spoken with Suzanne for a few months. Suzanne, I'm gonna do this. Okay, where do you need me to be? It's always like that with you, always. So thank you so much. I have a little something for you. If I can just move this out the way. Suzanne, so here is your award for that. And I am different. I know I'm different. I'm like out of the box kind of chick, but I am different. So I was like, what kind of award do I want to give them? You know, what does it look like? Is it a shoe? You know, me and with my shoes. But no, it's a mirror. It's a mirror, it has RWR. So the mirror is for you to look in it for self-reflection, self-love, and self-advocacy. For you, okay? Did we get our picture together? Oh, you know how we are with pictures. I will be posting. Okay, so our next honoree is Powe for community. That's pretty obvious, huh? We have became buddies, sister friends, fighting, arguing, not really like that, but we do. We're for real, but yeah.
To strengthen each other.
Exactly. Chanel has always been a force in the community. We'll get to talk about, hey, yeah, you want to go to the mall? All of a sudden we talk about the legislature. How do we get to that? We're supposed to be at the mall having a good time. But this is where her mindset is all the time. We will go. She'll call, hey, you and Tamara want to have some girl time? Sure, yeah, okay, let's get some girl time. Girl, I'm trying to get to these polls. And I was like, Chanel, how are we supposed to be having girl time? It's always. Well, we appreciate you because you're a voice of the voiceless, people who may be scared to speak up. Some people say, hey, I can't speak up, my job, I can't say that. But you're always fighting for us. You give selfless acts. So we really, really, I know we all appreciate you. So thank you so much for being our community hero.
And to be here with my friend Audrey when she first started, it made me do every damn video, y'all. I'm not playing. Do you hear me? Look at the footage. But to be here for my friend and to support her, to support your friend's vision through and through, I think that's something that, really speaks a lot about Audrey and our relationship. And I always told her, thank you for sharing your vision with me. And thank you for creating the space for me to be able to express myself. Living in Arizona alone, you want to have that type of sound foundation. Brother Xavier, you guys go hand in hand. I just want to thank you for loving me. Thank you for always being there for me and my son. And I'm happy to support you. And I love you. Thank you.
Self-reflection, your self-love. Oh, one more time, Chanel. Dominique, want to get a picture?
Because you gotta check yourself sometimes, a lot of times.
Self-reflection.
Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. And lastly, definitely not least, for our celebration of women is Ericka Nicholes. So Ericka is like the superwoman, always social worker at heart, always an advocacy program. Have you heard about this program? Do you know about this? Share this with the people. House of Miracles. So she's always advocating in that area. Just like she said, being in the Roosevelt School District School Board's race as a parent, she just said, hey, I want to run because I'm a parent in this school district and I need people to be accountable for this and this and this. So she took on that role, just jumped into it. As she said, I was just a parent. And then she became a foster parent. Upon being married, work, other challenges, she took on another role to be a foster parent. That says a lot. That really, really says a lot. So just clap it up for that. So, as my little sister, I appreciate you. I think you're great. Want a picture? I want a picture.
I want to see the pictures.
So the last and really important question I wanted to ask, and I'll start with the panel. Do you have a supportive sisterhood? Do you have a safe, supportive sisterhood? And if you don't, maybe you can talk about maybe why, or maybe you used to, but what I really think is important is that we have a supportive sisterhood that you can go to. Oftentimes we go through a lot of the same things. We just being a woman, life, work, family, job, marriage, kids. We need a support system because we can't just rely on ourselves all the time. We need to have someone. It's vital that we have some. I think Chanel might have mentioned earlier, we can't do it alone. So we'll start with Adina.
I do. I have an amazing, an absolutely amazing sisterhood. Like my sisters, I have, like I said, my mother raised 4 girls, and the 4 of us, we glide. There's an app called Glide where you can do video recording, and we just go ahead and record a message, to one another, and then we pick it up and we look at it when we want to. I have a tendency to attract women. So, it's one of those things, there's no shortage of sisterhood connections, bonds in my life at all. And I love it. I love being a woman. I love connecting with women. I love being around Nubian queens and just being embraced by them and embracing them and uplifting them and blessing them. Because one of the things I do recognize is the seeds that you sow will grow. And so it's so important to sow seeds and, to make sure that you love on every single person that you possibly can, because at the end of the day, that seed of love that you had sown into that person just may grow and come back to you when you need it. So I definitely have, and even this right here has just expanded, my network of sisters that I'm sure I can come to and love on, and they'll love on me and give me great advice. That support system is very important, and just this alone, like I said, has definitely expanded mine.
That's true. She emailed me, hey, Kenja, always the greetings is always so great. Thank you for that. Go ahead.
Yeah, beautiful. I didn't grow up with biological sisters. And so for me, developing a strong sisterhood network has come from other places. But I am blessed to have so many amazing sisters. Every great thing I've accomplished in life pretty much has been because some, beautiful sister has seen fit to pour into me, to pull me along, pull me to the side, or, what have you, but to support me in some way. Here in the Valley, I came here from the East Coast. I didn't know Peter from Powe, and I joined Urban League Young Professionals at a time when it was restarting, and met some awesome sisters. Ebony, that was here earlier, she isn't here now, but she's one of the sisters that I met. They became my new sisters here in Arizona. Also pledged a sorority in college, Delta Sigma Theta sorority. And I know I have sorors in the room. As I was just reminded in the conversation, and that sisterhood has also been an extremely deep source of support for me. Through my church, just people even at work. One thing I always say is that, especially us women of color, us Black women, we have a way of reaching out to each other, even in spaces where it seems like we're not welcome, or spaces where we aren't encouraged to be our full selves, and just saying, I see you. And I connect with you, and I recognize all that you have, and you're not alone. And that for me has been the sisterhood that has made the difference. So I consider everybody in this room my sister now.
I definitely have a strong sisterhood. I have a great relationship with my own sister, but also with other people that I've met along the way. but I'm a firm believer in people come into your life for a reason, a season, and understand that sometimes those people who I would, ride or die with 10 years ago aren't gonna be ride or die with me later. And that I have evolved and they've evolved, and even though those relationships aren't the same, they were nurturing to me in some way or another. And because of that, I think I have learned to appreciate people and to understand that sometimes, I think someone touched on it, that the smile that someone gives you or the nasty look is not because of you, or because of anything they said. It could be whatever's going on in their life. And so understanding that and still making sure I smile at somebody and I say hello to you and I give you a hug or whatever the case may be, and then seeing that, and like you said, seeing that can sow, and then that can help them come out of their own funk, whatever it may be, and realizing that, oh, she's there for me later. And so I guess that's kind of the question or answer.
So my sisterhood network is a little unconventional because a lot of them are actually distant. So people that I've picked up from earlier in life, people I've picked up from overseas. My biological sisters back east, on the East Coast. I was telling some of my panel members earlier that I have a strong relationship with the Diné family up north in Navajo country, actually a couple of Diné. So they are my sisters who check in with me probably the most often from Facebook. Hey sister, how you doing? What you been up to? But a lot of people in Indian country only see each other through Facebook because they're spread out so far all over the country. So there's so much connectivity that happens through virtual reality, which is really important in a way that if we use it wisely, it can be good. A lot of us use it negatively. And then some of the sisters are, they're other races. They're Korean, they're white, they're Navajo girls. And then I'm really, 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 really lucky that my job is community relations for ASU. And that gives me this excuse, right, to love up on Black women as part of my function for the university. And so, when you all see me approaching people I work at ASU, and one of the things I want to do is help connect Black people to each other. I mean, yes, I am promoting ASU because that's my job, but the heart beneath that is to help all of us use the university as a venue, to generate sisterhoods and brotherhoods and connectivity with each other. So I'm really lucky that has allowed me to generate, connections with Hart, where I can have genuine love for her, but also create an entree to ASU for her, and Charlene Tarver, the National Council of Negro Women, NCBW, and NAACP, and others. So that bleeds into a professional sort of relationship, which I think is important for all of us in order to advance each other in ways that we may not be able to advance each other.
I always like to do things in analogies because when you're at my age and you've been through X, Y, and Z, you get it. So my friends represent a fruit bowl of apples, bananas, oranges, and plums. So when I need to call on my apples and my oranges friends to get that real healthy perspective on what I need to do and how I should do it in a healthy perspective, I call on my apple and oranges. When I need to have that reflection and to sit back, I call on my bananas. Plums can be sweet or they can be sour, depending on what month you buy them. Some of the sisters are going to give it to you hard and rough and raw, and they're going to give it to you where it may be bitter to swallow, bittersweet. Those are my plums. And my peaches are sweet all the time. That used to be my nickname in college. Sometimes you need the sisters who's going to give you need the peaches in your life. The ones that are going to say, I just want, you just want to be loved on. We are very affectionate for one another. Some women are very affectionate. You can just feel it. How when you get the short hug from your sisters or you get the long hug when they rub your back a little bit? That's what you want to feel. Those are the sisters that generally you can just let it exhale. And they give you the love back. Ain't nothing wrong with rubbing the sister's back. You know, giving the hug. When you get the hug like this, you know, the bump hug. All right, really? Please, okay? But my basket of sisterhood is my fruit bowl. I want everybody in my fruit bowl to play a significant role in my life, because that's the way I have to look at it. Because when I reach back to my younger sisters, they have a lot to offer me. And I need, you know what I mean? When I'm here, when I'm riding along that pilgrimage, look, I'm a baby boomer, okay? I done rode that wave when things were differently. But my young sisters that are up here, they're smart. And they give me the perspective, there's things I never looked at. When I left the house to go on a date, my mother had to pray to Jesus and burn candles all over the house. Because we didn't have cell phones, beepers, social media. No, she had just prayed I came back home and wasn't beheaded, and my head wasn't floating down the Schuylkill Expressway. You know, and then I came home Miss Curfew, and then, you know, you don't look good when you get out the car and the porch light's on and the door's locked. So you gotta ring the doorbell. Y'all millennium sisters, I love you. You know, I can't do nothing on social media about calling one of y'all. So you're in my fruit bowl of love. You're the sweetness, and I love you because at my age, I need some sweet fruit in my basket.
That's good. I think it's always important to have that. And as I said before, we have not always maybe grown up with that. And Kenja touched on a good point too about the workplace sisterhood, the kind of the professional sisterhood. That's really important too, because we are in our jobs, you know, hours and hours at a time, more than we're probably at home sometimes. So sometimes you need that support system too in your professional relationships. And this is a sisterhood. Just coming here today, I think Adina mentioned it, you connect with people. It's a place where sometimes we just need it. We just need to, thank you, Nikki, we just need to let loose. We already figuring out what we got to do tomorrow. You know, so enjoy, relax. Sometimes we just have to take time for ourselves. And I read an article, and I don't have the stats right because I didn't think I was going to talk about this, but it said that Black women are now like the highest of heart disease. Stress. What do we do? Stress. Oh, stressing on the family, stressing on our job, stressing on somebody who didn't like it, stressing on it. So it's always stress. So a lot of some of the health issues that we go to are stemmed from stress. It's stemmed from stress. So we really have to, we can take control over that. We can take control over the stress in our life. Yep.
So, I don't know what you were going to say. But I was thinking about how the sisterhoods are really important, and then there's just one. Find some people you can connect to that will not judge you. Yes. You know, so you have to have at least a couple of non-judgmental friends to give you rejuvenation, regeneration, etc. I mean, you will have friends, like I have a couple of really good friends who will tell it like it is, who will tell me, Kenja, you done that, don't do that. Like, well, you know. But then I have some other friends who'll be like, you know what, honey, whatever you do, I still love you. And you need both. I mean, but one of the reasons why I think, you know, Black women are under a lot of stress. All the reasons you imagine. It's historical, it's economic, it's political, it's everything that you imagine. So I would just, you know, urge you at some point to find that friend of yours that you can be the non-judgmental friend too. Like, you're gonna have friends that you wanna help keep them on the straight and narrow, but at least pick one where, you know what, today I'm not going to be the judger. I'm just going to reach out and give you a hug, and that's it.
Are there any kids are the little people going now? Okay. So when she said find someone who's not judgmental and so on, there's a book that I have gravitated to, and it's the book. There's actually a couple books I would suggest that you all get. The first book that I've fallen in love with that I'm going to mention is called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It's by Mark Manson. And when I tell you that book It's just like, why do you care? Why would you care about X, Y, Z? Why are you investing? And so my language is about get a taste, big graphic. So I started fuck repo.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I'm starting to repo the fucks that I gave out to people. I'm like, I need that back. I remember when I get out here, because I shouldn't have even gave that to you, because that just didn't make no damn sense. You know what I'm saying? So that book right there really helps change your mindset to say, okay, we're investing and we're caring about things that we shouldn't even be caring about. You know, and it's not to say to not care, but be very selective as to what you do care about, because some of the things that you've invested in, at the end of the day, is going to stress you out. And because we are women of color, we're very passionate about our friends and our family and our careers and so on and so forth. And we start investing and giving too many some of the stuff that we be like, hold up, pause. Let's repo that, because this is about to give me a heart attack. You know what I'm saying? And it just doesn't make any sense. There's another book, because we're talking about the politics in the workplace, and then just really dealing with people in general. It's called The 33 Strategies of War. And I can't think of his first name, but his last name is Green, Greene. He also has the 48 Laws of Power. But the 33 Strategies of War is very, very interesting. And if you can also look at the book called The Art of War, yes. And those books right there will definitely mentally prepare you, emotionally prepare you.
Robert Greene.
Thank you, Robert Greene. Those books right there will prepare you to really just have a different mindset and understand that life is a game of chess. Now, I don't know how to play chess per se, but I do know how to maneuver in this world and start to pay attention to people and start to recognize that, you know what, I need to be a couple or a few steps ahead of them because they have, they're on a mission maybe to, destroy. But at the end of the day, I recognize that no weapon formed against me shall prosper, and at the end of the day, the seeds I sow will grow, so I make sure that I'm that kind of farmer at the end of the day. Because I know that I do have to go through this field of life, and I'm going to come across a lot of people, and being the person that I am and doing what I do, is out the gate, a lot of people are going to recognize. And I just truly believe in blessing in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But I really wanted to express that, to bring to your attention those particular books, because I really do believe that as sisters, as queens, Nubian women, that those are things that we need to definitely arm ourselves with, because we just give too much of ourselves, and we don't. I say there are very few of us who receive a deposit into our life account. You got a lot of people that'll make withdrawals from your life account, but they won't make deposits.
Right.
And I tell people all the time, what happens when you withdraw and you overdraw at a bank? They shut the account down. And you can't get no money, and you ain't opening that account. One, the account is closed permanently, or two, it's not gonna reopen until you get back in the black. And so I'm that way at this point. Like, if you haven't made a deposit into my life account, I'm not messing with you. And if you are overdrawn, your account is closed, keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? Period, point blank. This is repo. That's where I am with it. So I just wanted to share that with you ladies.
That was good. So I think we're going to wrap up. I appreciate you guys coming out, supporting the 3rd Annual Sisterhood Session Summit. I think it was really good to be really interactive and to hear what other sisters have to say on a larger scale. So I appreciate it. Maybe we can all take a group picture outside or something before you guys leave. But thank you so much. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys staying to the end. I know we ran a little late, but I do appreciate it. Absolutely.
One tiny thing I want to share. Okay. First of all, I just want y'all to love on Audrey real quick. What a phenomenal woman. Yes. This right here, this sisterhood vision that you share with us is medicine. And you are a healer. So thank you. And I'm a creative. Y'all know from the little bio thing. I wrote a song about my best friend because I'm sensitive and emotional. And I'm going to share a piece of it, and I want to dedicate it to Audrey and thank Chanel for the idea to do it. And it just said, only a sister can know my pain and my sacrifice. Only a sister can know what makes everything alright.